All right. Good morning to you all, and thank you very much for joining us on this webinar, on this training on maize production. I'm Rollins Coffee, and I'm with Agribusiness Media, and I will be your guide for today's session. We do have an excellent lineup of speakers today. We have Mr. Nyamande from K2 Seeds. We also have ZFC Limited joining us. And we also have Smart Kurima being represented by Ngoni Zashe, and ZFC being represented by Tashinga. Welcome once again, Mr. Nyamande, Tashinga, and Ngoni Zashe. So no doubt that we do have an excellent lineup, and these will share their knowledge on various aspects of maize production. And our first speaker is Mr. Nyamande from K2 Seeds, and he will be discussing variety selection and good agronomic practices. Mr. Nyamande, good morning once again, and please take it away.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. How are you, Rollings? Welcome to my presentation. My name is Petros Nyamande from K2 Seeds, where I've been tasked to discuss key successful factors to consider for a profitable maize production venture. First and foremost, let me just introduce what K2 Seeds is all about. K2 Seed is a seed breeding, multiplication and sales marketing company that is also involved in advisory services. At K2, we do quite a range of products that include food crops, the small grains, the vegetables, and the pastures. And besides that, we are also involved in advisory services to our stakeholders, who are mainly the farmers. We are physically located at number 640 Gerald's Way in Greystone Park in Harare. And of course, we are represented countrywide in all the provinces of the country with some agronomists at provincial level. And also we have some merchandisers who are there to act as ambassadors for K2 Seeds out there in the provinces. Our contact number is as indicated on the screen. And as for the introduction, I can simply say that for farmers to have a successful and profitable project, the project will be dependent on certain different considerations that are supposed to be taken aboard. And failure to adhere to these considerations might result in a lot of compromise to a farmer's expectations in terms of the yield that are expected from a particular project, the quality, and ultimately the profitability. Because all we are saying when we are getting into a project, we are concerned about different aspects that would ultimately make us very profitable as farmers. Like I did mention to say that the first one is the yield parameter, the quality, and finally the profitability. Once any of those three are compromised, then the profitability aspect would not be realized. Therefore, we are saying there are several seed suppliers within Zimbabwe, K2 Seed being amongst the seed houses that are offering different genetics. And we are saying for a farmer to be successful, he has to make key considerations when choosing products from these companies, so that when those products would perform, they would actually meet the farmer's expectations. If a farmer doesn't make these key considerations, then what we are all saying that, the project would not be a success, or the project will be very much compromised after having wasted a lot of money in terms of inputs and a lot of things that normally gets into a project. So here, what we are basically going to be doing, we are going to discuss about the factors that the different farmers have to consider when they are trying to get a proper variety that suits their area. So we are saying that these different varieties that are common into the market, they meet the farmers' expectations when only these considerations are taken aboard. Hence, we need to scrutinize these factors below when selecting a variety to produce in different areas. The first and foremost, we come from different agroecological regions. We have got regions like region 1, region 2, up to region 5. Therefore, not every crop can be adaptable to all those areas. So the first important consideration is to look at the adaptability of a particular variety of your choice. Like we are saying, not every variety is adaptable. There are different varieties that are, long season in nature, the mediums, the early, and the short. So therefore, it is very obvious that the long season maturing hybrids are not obviously going to be adaptable to areas that are of low potential in terms of, rainfall, unless otherwise if a farmer has got some irrigation facilities. So when a farmer decides to grow maize, he has to get a particular variety that is very adaptable to his area. In areas where you don't have enough rains, you are guided by choosing a variety that is an early maturing variety, or optionally, you could possibly pick a variety that is drought tolerant. That's the best option. You cannot get a long season maturing hybrid in cases whereby you are saying your areas are low potential. So this is the first consideration that qualifies, your variety consideration options. Then the second point again that you have to look at is the yield potential. Basically, what we are more interested in is we are interested in those particular varieties that yield very high, because there is no way where you can, opt for low yielding varieties unless otherwise there's a reason. Therefore, what we are saying despite the location, despite the agroecological region that you are coming from as a farmer, always target to choose high yield potential varieties. Therefore, what we are saying, in high potential areas where you've got good rains, or where you've got good irrigation facilities and sufficient water, you are supposed to be choosing high yield potential varieties that would give you up to 15 tons. Like in our case at K2, we have got a variety that is called PGA65 that yields up to 15 tons per hectare. And where you are in low potential areas, obviously there are certain varieties like the PGH51 that is drought tolerant in our case, and at the same time, it has got a yield potential of up to 10 tons per hectare. So that particular variety is better much positioned to be placed in those low potential areas. But otherwise, all I'm saying, the yield potential it's an important consideration. But otherwise, all the other varieties can be placed or can be positioned in different growing areas, provided the farmer has got some irrigation facility. But when it is being done under dry land, yes, obviously, it's not a question of one just picking any variety and position it anywhere. Otherwise, the results will be very much compromised. We go to consideration number 3. We are saying when you are choosing a variety, we are looking at the usage of the crop. What is it that you would want to use the final product for? For example, if you are intending to grow maize commercially, where you would want to send the grain to millers or to GMB, all you would need is to go for a particular variety that would give you high yields and at the same time the desired quality by those off-takers. That is very, very important. And more importantly, say for example, a maize variety is being chosen for silage making. In our cases, K2, we have got a variety that is called the PGA65, which is very desirable for silage making. Why would we say so? We would want to look at the quality outcome that will be obtainable from that particular variety. In most cases, say for example, you are into silage making. Not every particular maize variety is good for silage making. Some are not very good for silage making, unless otherwise, you are defying the logic, because there are certain quality parameters that are looked at when one is looking for a maize variety for silage making. In our case, the PGS65 that we have, it has got what we call stay green characteristic, which is very desirable in the sense that should the maize crop become ready for ensiling or ready for silage making, but at the same time we have got some incessant rains where you cannot access the lands to go and do your silage cutting. Too many times, certain maize varieties, they end up turning yellow within a very short period of time, say for example, 1 to 2 weeks. But all we are saying, when you choose your variety correctly, whether you cannot manage to access your lands to do silage making, the PGS65 is too good a variety to be avoided, because it remains green for a considerable time of for a considerable period of time, whilst you would wait for the land conditions to allow you to access the lands, and you go ahead with the silage cutting process. So the maturity is the usage is an important aspect. Let's go to the days to maturity. Days to maturity is very important, because whether you're doing it under irrigation or you are growing your maize under dry land, still this is a very important consideration, because your area, your location also determines on the choice of the variety that you are supposed to be producing. We have got the long season maturing hybrids that are mostly designed in high potential areas, or you are in areas where you've got good sources of water, where you would put the crop under irrigation. You also have some medium maturing hybrids, and you would also have some early that requires short days to reach physiological maturity. So all we are saying, we have to look at even our rotation. When we are going to be having a winter crop, for example, wheat, obviously I wouldn't recommend farmers to pick a long season maturing hybrid, because the days to maturity or the time that particular crop would take to reach physiological maturity and ultimately to become ready for combining would end up compromising the time at which the winter wheat has to be established. So if you are bringing in winter wheat, or if you are bringing in barley, I would always urge you to opt for the medium maturing hybrids and the short season varieties or the early season maturing hybrid, because these would become mature early and at the same time become ready for harvesting, so that it doesn't disturb the cycle. Once you pick a long season maturing hybrid, then it means that your winter wheat would be compromised in terms of its establishment, and at the same time, even the combining, your winter wheat becomes ready when we are about to get the first summer rain. So it becomes a mess, honestly. Once you get such a thing happening, then it means your wheat will be damaged, thereby compromising your quality. That that is most importantly the basic requirement from the off-taker. So let's be very careful with the maturity days. We need to know what we can manage to do. Under dry land, obviously, would recommend the early and the short. Of course, obviously, when you are doing your maize production in high potential areas. But remember, there is a lot of this speculation or some updates that are saying that this year would not be a very good year. So obviously, to you farmers, if you want to gamble, yes, if you have got 10 hectares, for example, Why not come in with 5 hectares of your crop being a medium, then the other 5 being an early or a short season maturing hybrid, so that if the West comes with the West, you don't have any irrigation to come and supplement your crop. If you lose on the medium maturing hybrids, then you would win on the early season maturing hybrids because of their earliness or because of the maturity days that particular variety takes. Then the other point to consider when choosing a variety is consistency in productivity. Because all we are saying here, when we've got a variety, for example, the PGA 65, that has got a yield potential of 15 tons per hectare. All we are saying that particular variety should be consistent. It should not easily change. 2 years average, you are getting 15 tons per hectare. Then, somewhere down the lines, that the very same variety is giving you 8 tons or 5 tons per hectare. Then if such a thing happens, we are saying the variety is not consistent in productivity. So it won't be a very good variety. More importantly, there are certain common diseases that are common in maize. Should they be pest? All we are saying, we want a product that is very consistent. We don't want a product that when we say is tolerant to rust or is tolerant to maize streak virus, 2-3 seasons down the line, you get that variety being attacked by these, common diseases that we are mentioning. So we have to be very careful. Look at those varieties that are stable, that are consistent, so that you would achieve high productivity. Then we go to the other point where we talk about tolerant to pests and diseases. You as a farmer, we wouldn't want to come in with a lot of costs accruing from chemical buying for disease control and pest control. So all we are saying, we as K2, we have got varieties that are tolerant to diseases, particularly those that are, prevalent in maize production areas, the grey spot, the maize streak virus, the coprons. So all we are saying, when we are choosing the varieties, make sure you say out openly that your area is an area that has got regular outbreaks of maybe grey spot or maize streak virus. By so doing, we are opening up, and the ambassador for K2 will be helping you, whether it will be in these common agro dealer shops, or you even walk in to K2 to buy your seed. Be specific of the challenges that you normally get at your fields. Then we would give you our varieties that are tolerant to those common maize diseases and pests. Then this other point is also too important not to ignore. We are saying drought tolerant. There is drought, there is this climate change. Obviously, we are not going to say that, as long as there is drought, as long as there are some predicting for drought coming, we are not going to produce any maize. What then are we supposed to be doing as farmers? All we need to do is to come up with mitigatory measures. This involves setting up irrigation facilities to your farm, but obviously there are some that cannot manage. What then do we do as breeders or seed suppliers? All we do is to come up with particular varieties that are drought tolerant. As K2, we have got 2 varieties that we have in our basket. The first one being a medium, which is called PGA 61. This one is a drought tolerant product, followed by the second one, which is an early maturing product that has got a potential yield of up to 10 tons per hectare. It is also drought tolerant. This is called PGS 51. Let me hasten to say that K2 products, they've got tolerant to sustainability. So whatever you might encounter during the growing period, whether there is, strong winds or some hailstorms, be assured that when you have chosen K2 varieties, you are good to go because they have got very good standability. Then I would talk about a bit on the soil requirements briefly. On what we said sand clay loams to heavy soils. They are very suitable for maize production, and at the same time they have to be very well drained with a pH range of 5.5 to 6.5. This is good for maize production, depending on the areas that you are intending to grow your maize. Right. What are we saying? Before we go on to land preparation, what are the water requirements for maize to be grown successfully from establishment up to physiological maturity and even up until the crop is harvested from the lands? Our maize crop normally requires 450 to 600 millimeters per season. That can be supplied naturally, rain-fed, or it could be through some irrigation that could be applied through different irrigation methods that includes the sprinkler irrigation, drip irrigation, the center pivot, the furrow, or the basin. That is more important or desired in those areas that have got abundant sources of water where they can afford to just open up the furrows, and at times there is no pumping cost. But you know, colleagues, there's no way you can do that when you are using these other means of irrigating, especially the drip irrigation, the center pivot, and the sprinklers, because they require a lot of power. Once you decide to do that, then you know you meet an unexpected cost. Right. Let's go to the land preparation. Right. There are two ways of doing your land preparation when we are trying to get into maize production. The first one being the conventional tillage method. This one, it involves basically a lot of operation that involves, depending on the nature of the land, it starts off with reaping, followed by plowing, then you would disc that particular piece of land, and finally you would come in and do the harrowing before you come in to do the planting. The disadvantages of this particular conventional tillage method is that, you know, this is very costly because all these operations that I have mentioned, you know, they require fuel, machinery, and you know, it becomes very costly. So we would basically recommend all these operations or this conventional method of tillage to be done on soil surfaces that are too hard, and particularly on those soils that are still very virgin. Secondly, we have spoken about this tillage method being costly. Let's not also forget that it causes a lot of land degradation, because where you come in to do your reaping, your plowing, your disking, each year in, year out, what you are basically doing, you are exposing your soil or you're exposing your land surface to a lot of degradation, because the more you do these farming operations on a piece of land, the more you're exposing to, you are exposing your soils to it being eroded easily. So this is a disadvantage of this tillage technique. Let's go to the second one, which I think it's very much recommended, but obviously depending on where you are, excuse me, where you are having some very hard surfaces, obviously you would not easily win with the reduced tillage. You would better off be in a good position when you go for the conventional tillage, right? Reduced tillage method it involves minimum operations. For example, all you need besides reaping, you can simply come in and do disking and plant or you do your furrow opening and you plant your maize seed. What are the advantages of this method of tillage? It's less costly because the number of land preparation operations, they are reduced, unlike if we are to opt for the conventional tillage method. Then there's also minimum soil disturbances, which means that the soil is not highly exposed to erosion or any other, weather conditions that could affect your soil. It also protects the fields from erosion, because less disturbances on the soil surface, then it means the more your soil would remain firm, and it means that it won't be very prone to erosion. Right. Let's go on to planting. Planting times and the spacings is dependent on different consideration. The times when you would get your rains is also an important factor to determine your time of planting. The spacing as well is also has to be looked into consideration, because the type of crop that we are growing, or so to speak, the variety or the usage of the crop. When we are growing a crop that is intended for silage, obviously you would need to target high plant populations, because all you are doing, you are targeting high herbage. Obviously, whether the crops are going to be small, but all what is important to a farmer is the herbage that you are going to be getting. That comes from the stalks, that comes from the corn and cob. So when you are doing maize production, all you need to do, if you are doing it through rainfed, you have to come in and do dry planting 2 to 3 weeks before your first effective rains. Or alternatively, you can come in and do your planting with the first effective rains, right? That is, if you can manage to get between 30 to 35 millimeters, depending on your soil, you can do your planting. But for the long season maturing hybrids, of course, as K2, we don't have these ones, but generally for those other farmers that would be having the long season maturing hybrids, their first option, mid-October is the best time when you can come in to establish your maize plantings. Or for those farmers that will be doing it with irrigation, right? Coming on to spacing options, we have got different spacing options, but it also depends on the plant population that we'll be targeting per hectare, right? These ones, they do vary. Some, they are used to the 90 by 22 centimeter, which would ultimately give us a population of up to 50,000 plants per hectare. Then some would also go for the 90 by 25 centimeters, which, when worked out, would give us a population of 45,000 plants per hectare. And the other option of 90 by 30 centimeters, which would possibly give us 37,000 plants per hectare. But obviously, if you are doing silage, you would aim for a high plant population, because all we need is to have, large quantities of herbage. We are looking at between 80 to 90 tons per hectare of silage per hectare. So we would need to establish our crop at high plant populations. But obviously, some can come in with maybe these spacings, 85 by 22 centimeters, 85 by 20 centimeters. It depends with what a farmer wants, but there are different options. All you need to do, that's why I've said that you need to be very considered when we are choosing your variety. Some varieties under high plant population, they lodge seriously. So that is very important. You would also look at the standability of a particular variety. Those varieties that do not stand easily, are supposed to be planted at a less plant population. If a crop is not, good at standing the field conditions, obviously compromise your plant population, go for lower plant populations. If you try to push your plant population higher, obviously you will lose your crop. Whether that crop is targeted for grain or whether that crop is targeted for silage, but they are too high plant populations that are not acceptable. So 50,000, 55, even 60,000 plants, depending on the variety. Some farmers are winning. And let's not forget that, the plant population is also dependent on the soil types that we are having. There are some soils that would not sustain high plant population. So let's be guided, ladies and gentlemen. Right. I would not be talking about the fertilizer and the rates because they have been discussed already by a colleague from the fertilizer company. So I won't discuss about the fertilizers, the rates, and the timing, since that has been discussed already. Right. The weed management is also a topic that has been covered already, because the other stakeholder is from the fertilizer and chemical supplier. So I would just ignore this slide and continue to other slides. So as the pests and diseases, it has been discussed by ZFC. This slide has also been discussed by ZFC, where the guy did discuss about the common maize diseases and the control measures. So let me go over to this slide where I would want to share with you, the listeners, the varieties that we have at K2 at the moment. All we have at the moment, we have got 5 white commercial maize varieties. 3, they fall into the medium category range, and 1 falls into the early. Then another one, which is 1 again, it falls into the ultra early. Let me start by discussing the ones that falls into the medium category. The first one being PGS65. Maturity days is between 130 to 135 days to reach physiological maturity. And this PGS65, it has got a yield potential of up to 15 tons per acre under very high good management. And like I did earlier on mention to say that not all varieties or not all products are good to be positioned anyway. So all I'm saying, we are saying, unless other ways, let me hasten to say that all these varieties, they can be grown or they are adaptable to all maize growing areas. But it's dependent now on whether you are doing it under irrigation or you are also doing it under dryland. The PGS65, which I said it's a medium maturing hybrid, it can be positioned in medium to high rainfall areas, or you can do it under irrigation. So this statement qualifies to say that it's not a product that you can push to very low potential areas. You cannot get anything out of it. So make sure you are in medium to high rainfall areas, or you have got a sound irrigation facility. So as the PGS63, which has got the same days to maturity as the PGS65, but the only difference comes on the yield potential, whereby we are saying PGS63 has got a potential of 10 to 14 tons per hectare, but it can be positioned in the very same areas where you can position PGS65. The PGS61, it also takes between 130 to 135 days to physiological maturity. However, the yield potential, it ranges between 10 to 12 tons per hectare, and it can still be positioned in areas where the 65, the 63 can be positioned. Let me highlight a bit more with regards to PGS61. Despite it being a medium maturing hybrid that requires to be positioned in medium to high rainfall areas, this product is also good because genetically it has got what we call drought tolerance. So it can be positioned in medium to high rainfall areas, but should you be unlucky to get those dry spells that normally last between 2 to 2.5 weeks, we have got this particular variety, which is drought tolerant. The variety is very good in standing those dry spells. So we recommend these particular varieties, particularly the communal setup, particularly those farmers that don't have irrigation facilities. Right. We can go to the Ellis, where we currently have PGS 51 and the PGS 55 in our basket. The days to maturity for these Ellis is between 125 to 130 days, and the potential yield is between 8 to 10 tons per hectare. And these varieties can be grown in areas where we have low to medium rainfall areas. And at the same time, they can also be grown under irrigation. But this variety, once again, genetically, it is also what we call drought tolerance, where we are saying that it can stand reasonable drought, like the 2 to 2.5 weeks dry spells. So this is a variety that we can recommend in dry areas, the Mashingo areas, or I can certainly say the regions 1. But not to say that you cannot grow it under high potential areas, the region 1, 2A and 2B. But it's only when you go in a little bit late, or when you are coming in with your late plantings, because obviously when you are coming in with your late plantings, there is no point in you coming in with the long season maturing hybrids or the medium season maturing hybrid. You are coming in with the early maturing hybrids. Most probably you are trying to make sure that you have got enough commercial grain to cover up for your farm workers. Because I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, when we are doing any other crops, could it be tobacco, but you need to be having a portion where you are growing maize, because otherwise your farm workers would not sustain it. They would always run away and go to where they would get their rations in abundance. The last product that we have, which falls into the ultra category, is PGS 33. It's a new product that we have pushed into the market. Days to maturity, it's between 115 to 125 days. And its yield potential is also up to 9 tons per hectare under good management as well. This one can also be grown under low to medium potential areas, but obviously even under irrigation, you can bring it in, or even under dry land where you are saying that, you would need to have something for your workers, or like these predictions that are saying that this season is going to be a bad year. So amongst all these varieties, the 5 varieties that I have spoken about, all I'm saying let's gamble. Where you are having maybe 20 hectares, why not put part of that 20 hectares under PGS 65 and PGS 63? And the other part, you put it to these other varieties. Of course, some farmers would say, I don't want to come in with a lot of varieties, but who knows? If you lose on these, the 65 and the 63s, you can win on the Ellis, which is, the PGH 51, that is also coupled with the drought tolerance genetically. So these are our varieties that we have in our K2 maize category. Let me also talk about the other products that we have, and also the services that we have as K2. We have the oil seeds, the soyas, and we have one variety that we currently have that is called Maize, that is very adaptable to most soybean growing areas with a yield potential of 4 to 4.5 tons per hectare. We also have some groundnuts, This one is not an all seed. We also have wheat, and at K2 we have got two products. The first one being peregrine, and the second one, which we have recently put into the market, is the Marshall. Or these two products have got a yield potential of up to 9 tons per hectare, and quality-wise, the two wheat varieties that I'm talking about, they are also very good. We have got quite a lot of testimonies coming from a lot of off-takers that are saying that these products, they are very good in terms of their yield potential. And also they are saying that, these two wheat varieties, they are meeting all the off-takers quality parameters. Then the other products that we have got some horticultural seeds that includes cabbage, herb, onion, and tomatoes. And the basket is too big to mention, but we are one of the best seed companies that have got very good horticultural products. We also have some small grains, like we've always heard that the government is always advocating for the production of small grains for nutritional purposes. We are also saying that as K2, we've got one of the best sorghum hybrid varieties that is called the Rakodzi, which we would basically recommend to those growers who have got a very good relationship with the brewers. So, we besides this red sorghum variety, we also have the wise, which we call the Vumba and Shirikure. These are also our sorghum varieties. We also have some pastures that includes pastures and Katambora. And we are very popular with livestock farmers with these products, and there are quite a number that we have in our basket as well. And last but not least, we also have a responsibility of giving agronomic advices to our stakeholders, be it small farmers, the commercial farmers, and any other stakeholders that might require any agronomic advice from us. Like we have said that we are represented countrywide in all the provinces. So we have got some agronomists who are ready to give this agronomic advice to all our stakeholders throughout the entire country. And on the other things and services that we do, we also do the corporate social responsibility with the different communities and the different stakeholders in Zimbabwe. Just to get you relaxed and get to appreciate where we are coming from, this is our K2 research facility that is at Art Farm, and those are some of the exhibitions of some of our small grains. There we are having a lot of products where we are having the horticultural products. If you see far down up there, we've got some cabbages, we've got some groundnuts, and well, most of other products that we have at our research facility. Then we also have that area of view of our research facility, Demo Plus. That one is, it's a block of, maize, showcasing our different maize varieties that we have at K2 research facility. And some of them, they include experimentals that are still yet to be released into the market. And that one, we also have that at our research facility. For those of you who have had the chance of visiting our research facility, that one is what we call a stress wheel, where we are trying to showcase our different varieties. If you see those signages, they are trying to show the different varieties that we are having, those that are already existing commercially and those that are still to be experimented on. And if you see that stress wheel, it's showcasing our different products grown under different pestings, and what would happen when our different maize varieties are grown under different plant populations. And that one is also an exhibition of one of our cowpea variety that is at podding stage. You can see it looks very good and very uniform. And those are some of the products that we offer to our farmers in pictures, the maize pack size and the small grains and the horticultural containers there. And you can also look at those horticultural final products, and on your extreme, depending on where you are, on your extreme right, you can also, that farmer who is smiling, and possibly he's smiling because of the pasture products that we offer as K2. So there, that's what we are offering to our stakeholders. That is what we are offering locally and even abroad. We are saying quality seeds, you get to have smiling farmers. And lastly, let me say thank you so much for listening, and I hope you'll be very much excited. And you'll be only excited when only you get to experience our good genetics. K2 seeds, we are the leaders in yield. And let me say, wish you a happy farming season to you all farmers. Thank you. Choose K2 genetics. You will win.
First and foremost, I would want to express my gratitude to farmers and different stakeholders for gracing this occasion. I also want to thank them for their dedication in maize production. My name is Tashinga Mzengi. I'm the technical advisor of ZFC Limited. My presentation today is going to talk about crop and soil health management issues in maize production. My presentation outline will be, I'm going to give the overview of maize production, but I thought maybe there will be someone who would give us an overview of this year's farming season. So it looks there is no one, so I'm also going to give an overview of the 2023 to 2024 farming season. I'm also going to talk about the crop nutrition. I'm also going to talk about crop protection chemicals. I'll then conclude with a few remarks. So this year, it is predicted that we are likely to have El Nino. So it's a weather phenomenon that is characterized by warmer than average sea surfaces and in the central and eastern equatorial Pacific Ocean. What does it mean to a farmer in Zimbabwe? The key impacts on agriculture will be drought, reduced crop yields, livestock and pasture challenges. Point that I will need to highlight is that it will increase the risk of pests and diseases, especially your armyworm and your locust. The stress on crops can lead to the vulnerability to pests and diseases. It will also lead to food insecurity. It will also lead to reduced agricultural revenues and national economies. So this is the impact. So my presentation will also touch on how best can we reduce these negative impacts that El Nino will likely to cause to us. I'm not threatening you, but I just want to impart the knowledge so that we become prepared for it. So as a country, we are supposed to produce about 2.2 million metric tons of maize, with about 1.7 million metric tons for human consumption, and livestock about 500,000. So why ZFC, and why ZFC is part of this platform is because we as ZFC, we help you to avoid the challenges that I've mentioned earlier on. And what makes ZFC unique and what makes ZFC the best is that we are quality certified. We have a quality certification on ISO. We also have ISO 9001. We also have quality management systems. We also have environmental management and occupational health standards. So it means that the product that we produce to a farmer is of high quality. We are also a locally adapted company that is tried and tested, that has been operational from 1957, though in different formations. We offer technical backup and we are closer to the farmer. You would appreciate farmers that are outlets. Also, we have the widest network as far as agrochemicals is concerned. Which means the farmer is travels a very short period to get the product at the end of the day. So I'm going to talk briefly about soil health in maize production. Maize production is critical in Zimbabwe because it's a strategic crop, because it's our staple food. It also raw material in stock feeds. So it feeds us, it feeds the animals, it feeds everyone. So soil fertility. Maize require an adequate nutrient levels in the soil for optimal growth and development. So for you to have a sort of fertile soil, we need to do soil testing, which is very important to determine the nutritional status of the soil and identify deficiencies. Based on that, then fertilizer strategies can be implemented to ensure that the soil has optimum levels of nutrients. So if soil testing is beneficial, why is it most of our farmers are not getting their soil tested? I was expecting maybe Mr. Nyaman, we lost him along the way, but it is believed that the varieties that we have as a country, some can go as high as 21 tons per hectare, but actually the national average rotate is something around 1 ton per hectare. So one of the fundamental reasons it might be issues to do with soil testing, with soil health. So soil testing is very critical because it is the fundamental, or it is the principle behind a sound fertilizer or a nutrition management program. So if you don't test your soil, it actually means you are shooting in the dark. We are just doing things that you are not sure of, which means your project would have failed at the initial stages of it. So farmers need to be testing their soils so that they can create a sound fertilizer management program. So your soil pH, so for example, one of the parameters that we test include your soil pH. We also have what we call the basic test, which cover your NPK, your secondary nutrients, and some trace elements. So those we do at ZFC. You can drop your soil samples at the nearest depot, or you can give it to the area agronomist, or you can actually come with it to ZFC, or you can send a third party to ZFC. We do soil tests. For your pH, you are looking at a price of around $6. For a basic test, around $26. Then for a premium test, something closer to $30. So what's the role of fertilizer in enhancing crop resilience? Deficiencies can increase susceptibility to crop stress and reduce the ability to cope. Overuse of fertilizer can also lead to nutrient imbalances and increase susceptibility of crops to disease. So what you need to do as a farmer is to have a balanced nutrient management program that is sustainable, and under varying weather condition, it becomes very key because it gives you sustainability. So what it means that we need to test our soil for us to have a balanced nutrient management. The fertilizer best practice management practices are there to ensure a healthy crop. So as you remember, my presentation is to do with crop health. So fertilizer best management practices are there for farmers to use fertilizer in an effective and efficient through customized crop recommendations. The fertilizer management best practices help us to derive benefits from fertilizers and reduce fertilizer benefits are maximized and reduce the negative effects that are a result of over and underutilization of fertilizer. Correct fertilization also helps to improve the resilience of crops, therefore plays an important role under climate change. As I've mentioned earlier on, is that a healthy crop will be able to fight itself against So what a farmer needs to do is to make sure that he has a healthy crop. And a healthy crop is informed by a healthy soil. So you need to test your soil. So in order to manage fertilizers, let's say you've done your soil test, now you want to manage your fertilizer rate has been determined, you need to practice what is called the Global Nutrition Steward Principles, or the 4 R's of fertilizer management. That includes the right source, which matches the fertilizer type and the crop needs. It includes the right rate, which matches the right amount of fertilizer crop needs. It includes the right time, which makes nutrients available when crops need them. Then the right place is keeping the nutrients where crops use them best. So I would give you an example of a study that was done in Ethiopia, which included 85 demonstration plots and learning sites in 3 regions. So by adopting 4 R's, the maize production was improved from 2 to 4 tons per hectare to about 7 tons per hectare, leading to a gross margin, average margin of over 1,000. So this is very important. And I'm not sure, maybe for those that are interested in research, is one area maybe would give a Zimbabwean perspective as far as this. But to sum it all up, is that you need to adopt the 4 R's for you to increase your gross margins and also increase your yield in terms of tons per hectare. So I'm also going to talk about when should we apply fertilizer. For you to know when to apply fertilizer, you also have to understand the various vegetative stage and reproductive stages of maize. In terms of maize, we normally use the coding that we call VE, V2, V3. But what is critical in most cases is the stage, what we call the V5 stage, that I'm going to talk about in the next slide. So in terms of when we are saying a V3, we are saying it's a 3rd leaf with a collar, the collar that is highlighted on the right of my screen there. So these are the various stages of maize growth. We find between V0 to V5, that critical period is very critical for weed control. You need to control your weeds during that time. You also then from V8 to V14, you also need to apply your fertilizer in terms of top dressing, because the demand of nitrogen during that stage becomes higher. You also need to check for diseases and stalk borer control from V12 to R2 for you to get good yield. So I'm going to talk briefly about the V5 stage. The V5 stage is the most critical stage in maize production. It's unfortunate that these are some of the material that I'm using. I know my friend there from K2, let's hope is not going to be mad at me, is I adopted this one from Pana, but they can differ from variety to variety. What is critical is we need to identify that critical stage in maize production. So, for example, we are talking about, sorry, I think I've lost my screen. Just a moment. I'm not sure if you are seeing it now.
No, we've lost your presentation. Or we try and hear from this end.
Okay. Just a moment then. Let me try again. I'm not sure what's happening with my network here. Just a moment. Can you see it now?
Yes, if you can just put it on slide mode.
Okay, that's fine. We'll go back a little bit. Yeah. So we're good to go. So the V5 stage is the most critical, because that's when the number of kernels per cob is determined and the tassel formation is initiated. So what it means to a farmer is that during the V5 stage, which is the 5-leaf stage, the crop will determine the yield. So you need to make sure that your nitrogen is applied at that particular stage in the form of top dressing, because your demand for nitrogen is at its best. Because crops are intelligent as human beings. What crops does, they also use what is called crop intelligence. They sense their environment to say, do I have enough food to make the big crops? So if they sense that the nutrition is low, they reduce their yield. They say, if I produce this number of crops or this crop size, I won't be able to make it through to the final stage. But if they say, if the nutrition is good enough, they would say, let me make the best crop because the fertilizer or the nutrition is sound. So you also need to make sure that during the V5 stage, you apply your nitrogen in terms of citrus. I will also highlight in terms of how do you go about it in terms of fertilizer application. But what is critical is when you are in sandy soils that have high levels of leaching, you need to split apply. The first application coming at V5, then the last application coming at V12, V14. So I'll take you through a fertilizer management program for a 10-hectare crop. This is a 10-hectare crop, but as I've mentioned earlier, there are varieties that you can go as high as 21 tons per hectare. So you can, the basal fertilizers that are available include the legendary compound D, which is 747, that also can come in terms of zingated or is not zingated. We also have compound D, which is 14-20-14, which is double D. We also have cereal blend 6-20-23-23, which is very critical for those potassium fixing soils. We also have a granulated high analysis fertilizer, the unique of its kind in this country, which comes as 10-20-10, which is the D of people in Zambia. We also have fertilizer, top dressing fertilizer in terms of the ZFC AN. We also have your urea. We also have calcium ammonium nitrate. I would also want to highlight a little bit about calcium ammonium nitrate. You would find it in various outlets, especially our outlets in small parcels. You can still use that one at around 650 kgs per hectare. Why? Because the nitrogen content is 26% compared to 34.5%. But one thing that you also need to benefit by using CAN is that it has a liming effect. It can also supply you with calcium, which is a secondary plant nutrient. So it's actually a very good fertilizer, especially now when we are faced with climate change. You find that's a low release fertilizer that can give you the long season supply of nitrogen across the season. So I'm also going to talk about a small analysis there in terms of why do you need to use high analysis fertilizers such as your 14-20-14, which is your double D. One, it saves you transport cost. Because you would appreciate that for a smallholder farmer, you would use those guys with shika. They charge you a bag of fertilizer. So in this is double fertilizer, which means your one bag of double D is equivalent to 2 bags of normal D. So if you were supposed, let's say, to buy 8 bags of D, you are now buying 4 bags of double D. And those guys, the mshikashikas, they charge you per bag, which means if you are being charged $1 per bag, you are only going to be charged $4 for your 4 bags instead of $8. It also saves your space for those people that have space. It also cuts your cost. This is a simple math that I've done by using normal D. When you are using 12 bags, you would look at the cost of around $384. But when you are using double D, you are looking at a cost of $340. For a hectare, each hectare, by switching only to double D, you are saving cost by $36 per hectare. But we haven't also included the cost in terms of saving for transport costs. We also saving in terms of space and also in terms of runs in the field. You'd appreciate that when you're in the field, when you're using 12 bags, you'll be forced to go back and forth refilling the hoopers with fertilizer. So imagine you were supposed to go 12 times. By going for double D, you would go there 6 times, because your rate is actually half of the normal D. So I'm going to talk briefly about some of the fertilizers that are available at ZFC. We also have gypsum that improves your water infiltration, your nutrient retention, and also reduce toxicity that affect the roots. It also helps in areas where the soil condition that we call sodicity. You would appreciate in areas such as Gokwe and some portions of Maize Central. There are areas where now crops are no longer growing, which are sodic. So your gypsum becomes handy in mitigating against sodicity. We also have foliar fertilizers, which becomes handy, especially under varying weather conditions, because they address deficiencies quickly especially conditions where the root uptake is limited. So we have ZFC quick-based range, which includes ZFC quick start, quick grow, and pest blow. We also have a product we call foliar 15. These foliar fertilizers, they allow application of small amounts of nutrients when they are needed and without being influenced by the soil nutrient interaction. I'm going to briefly talk about biostimulants. This is the fertilizers for the future, which are biostimulants, are molecules or they are microorganisms that alters the plant system itself to be resistant or to natural defense system of the plant, or they alter the environment around the plant itself so that it becomes more resistant and it also takes more nutrients. So these are fertilizers for the future. I'm sure by the time we produce them, embrace them, and you'll be able to use them. I'm also going to talk about the zinc fertilizer. It becomes the end, especially for those that are doing seed crops. Zinc deficiency is a common problem in our Zimbabwean soils. So you can actually use zinc sulfate, which you can apply as a soil fertilizer, as a soil application, or you can apply it as a foliar fertilizer. I'm going to talk about the crop protection. On the crop protection side, we have a variety of herbicides, which are your normal glyphosate, which comes in as a granular version or a liquid version. For a granular, you're looking at 0.5 to 6 liters per hectare. We have your granular version, you are looking at 0.5 to 3 kgs per hectare. Why are the rates different? The rates are different because of the concentration of the active ingredient in these different glyphosate formulations. For a acid formulation, you would find we are looking at around 36%. We are looking at around 36% active ingredient, and for a granular version, we are looking at around 75%. We also have diquat, which replaced the paraquat that we used to know, because this one is a safer chemical to use. You would need that one at around 1 to 3 liters per hectare. But what of note there is you need to avoid spray drift to non-target crops, because if you allow drift, maybe for those farmers that are nearer to each other, you have a chance of hitting, of damaging or other people's crops that are neighboring your fields. So you need to get to make sure that spray drift is minimized, or there's no spray drift at all. In terms of post-emergent herbicide, you would appreciate, for those that have been working closer to ZFC or that have been following ZFC for the past years, you would appreciate that we introduced 2 products, which are our flagship herbicides as far as maize is concerned, which is Ambush and Maricho. So I'm first of all going to talk about Maricho. Maricho has 3 active ingredients, which is your terptelazine, which is in the same group as your atrazine. These are triazines. We also have mesotrione, which is also a carotenoid inhibitor. We also have nicosulfuron, which also can be available as nicosulfuron on its own. So this herbicide is broad spectrum, can be used as a pre-emergent and post-emergent herbicide in maize. So it gives that farmer that flexibility in terms of maybe you failed to apply, maybe due to the fact that or there was no moisture, you are still able to use Maricho as a post-emergent, early post-emergent in maize. We are going to talk about terptelazine. It's mainly taken up by the roots. Your mesotrione is mainly taken up by the root stems and leaves. Your nicosulfuron is taken mostly by the leaf tissues. So it means your Maricho is taken up through various means, which is your leaves, your roots, your stems, and your meristem. So this is the type of control you see in your field. So your terptelazine is responsible for that, because the photosynthetic inhibitor, it will burn your tips of your weeds there, as shown in that picture. Then your mesotrione, being a carotenoid inhibitor, it will then bleach your crop, therefore giving you the control. Your nicosulfuron is very critical, especially in areas of marsh west and marsh central, because it controls your rhodobolia congengialis. It's actually called shamba grass in Zimbabwe. after being named after that district in Mashonaland Central. So it becomes your nicosaffron, then it becomes very critical in controlling your shamba grass. So you don't have to buy your atrazine and your nicosaffron separately because they are already there in your maricho there. So it becomes a very important herbicide that the farmer needs to consider in order to maintain a good, healthy crop. So what are the benefits that the farmer would get from maricho? Is the flexibility in application window. I've mentioned about that. We also have a long season weed control through canopy cover. So if you apply it as a pre-emergent herbicide, it quickly controls your weeds before they are emergent and allowing the crop to take off. It also controls difficult weeds such as Ipomia plebia, Ipomia pipuria, which is your sub-morning glory or your normal morning glory, which is wreaked havoc, especially in areas such as Marsh Central. So this is the choice that you can, this is the product that you can choose to control such things. It does also have an excellent crop safety. It's applied in most hybrids and all soil types. It also has low leaching levels. It's also good in terms of the environment because it doesn't persist much in the soil. So what are the follow-up periods for maricho? For your wheat and barley, it's 5 months. For your cotton and sunflower, it's 12 months. For your horticultural crop, it's 24 months. So you see those farmers that are doing your maize with the barley rotation, it becomes handy because you are still able to use maricho in your rotations. I'm also going to talk about ambush. Ambush contains your metallaclo and flumetslum. And your metallaclo is one of the most used pre-emergent herbicide in the country. And it then doesn't control what we call the deep-seated weeds or the large-seated weeds. So there are weeds that were actually promoting each growth by the continued use of metallaclo. Such weeds include your xanthium, such weeds include your sub-morning glory, such weeds include your wild sunflower tithonia, such weeds include your milkweed, which have wreaked havoc in our farming solution. So we actually can't control those weeds by using metallaclo. And farmers have been using metallaclo year in, year out. So this solution called ambush, yes, metallaclo, and also have another herbicide called flumetslum. Then that will then help in terms of the weed spectrum. So this herbicide actually has a wider spectrum and also control some of the difficult weeds which are in the category that I've mentioned, the deep-seated weeds, the large-seated weeds that haven't been controlled by metallaclo on its own. So in terms of the waiting periods, the safety periods for your crops, for your dry beans, for your soybeans, for your groundnuts, for your maize, it's 0. These are the why, because you can use your ambush in dry beans, in soybeans, in groundnuts, and in maize. If you are doing potatoes, for potatoes, wheat, grain, sorghum, you have to wait for 3 months. For sunflower, you have to wait for 5 months. For any other crop, maybe you wait with 24 months, or you can proceed by soil testing. Then what are the benefits that you are likely to get from maricho, from ambush? Sorry, as I've said, it controls your difficult weeds such as your Portulaca oleracea, which is commonly known as your Chifadichimuka. It controls that. It's a common weed, especially along the riverbed, along the Mazoe River. It's a common weed. So this is the option that you also need to consider if you are farming along that river. It also suppresses weed by eliminating them while they're still in the ground, make sure that the crop thrives, and it gives you that long season control through canopy closure. It has low application rates, and the minimum waiting period in between the crops is low, so that it becomes very key for your maize, soya, wheat rotation. So for a post-emergent herbicide in maize, we have maricho that I've mentioned earlier on as a pre-emergent herbicide. I'm not going to dwell much about that, but we also have halosulfuron, we also have pasagran, we also have stellar, we also have nicosulfuron on its own, we also have dicamba on its own. It now depends on the type of weeds that we experience in the field. For example, you are experiencing nutsedge, the yellow and purple nutsedge, you need to use your halosulfuron, definitely with a wetter, but it will also control your broadleaf weeds. In terms of crop protection, what are the common pests that we are likely to see, and what are the solutions that ZFC has? We have what is critical in terms of this year is you'd appreciate that due to El Nino, we are likely to see elevated temperatures, reduced precipitation. What does it mean? It means that your pests are likely to increase, especially your worms, especially your grasshoppers. Why? Because the temperatures will be ideal for reproduction. Two, the alternative hosts or the alternative food sources will be few because there will be reduced rainfall. So they will actually have no option but to attack your crop. So what is important is you also need to track the pest population. You need to apply the pesticide at a correct time. You need to make sure that you come up with a targeted pesticides. So what are the most common pests that we are likely to follow to see or that have been there for some time? We have a fall armworm, Lepidoptera frugipeda, which became a pest of economic importance around January 2016. It used not to be a pest in Zimbabwe, but it gained economic importance around January 2016. What are the solutions? The solution for your fall armworm is what we call the integrated pest management, which in some of the practice that you do there under integrated pest management include your deep plowing, which help to destroy the fall armworm eggs. You also have to remove plant debris from previous seasons. You also need to use the pheromone traps. You also use seed treatments, especially one chemical called Fortenda, which is a seed treatment that can actually give you a long season control if applied as a seed treatment. What are the solutions as far as crop protection is concerned, as far as fall armworm is concerned? We have what we call ZFC Indoxa, which is a flagship product as far as worms or Lepidoptera is concerned. We have ZFC Spike Extra, which contains emamectin, bonzate, and acetamiprid. We also have Ambligo, which is Contrana Pro, and your Lambda. So those are the three solutions that are available in ZFC. I'm going to briefly talk about the flagship product, ZFC Indoxa. So ZFC Indoxa gives you a contact and stomach control, which means it controls your pest if they are getting contact with it or they eat it. The mode of action is the flow of sodium into nerve cells, and the benefits and features of this particular product is that it gives you fast action. So it means feeding is stopped within 2 to 8 hours. Although death would then occur after 24 to 48 hours, but your crop would have stopped feeding at around 2 to 8 hours. Then we also look about, we also talk about rain fastness, which is a very critical component as far as pesticide is concerned. So it has a rain fastness of 2 hours, and it's packed conveniently in 100 mils and 250 mils packaging. So you also see that in maize, we normally see your maize stalk borer, and the solution will still be the legendary maize stalk borer Q and your carbaran. We also have your white grubs. You can use your chlorpyrifos if you are faced with white grubs. You also have the African armyworm, which you can also use your Indoxa or your Spike Extra. But before I conclude, I want to talk a little bit about the counterfeit products. Farmers will then ask, where do we get these particular products? We get these particular products, whether they are solutions as far as your crop protection or even your seed, you need to get them from reputable sources. With me here, you would appreciate that 30% of pesticides in Ghana, they are counterfeit products. And 40% of seed in Kenya, it's fake. And 30% of maize seed in Uganda is 30%. I've only given the example of those countries, but it will also be interesting to know the Zimbabwean statistics. You need to make sure that we do get products from the reputable sources, because one, they want those counterfeit products. They look cheap, but they won't be cheap because they won't give you the control. They are not also safe for you to use because you are not sure about what has been used, how to control yourself. So you can actually get yourself in danger or your family is in danger by using those fake chemicals also reduce the revenues, because your yield, you won't get to your preferred yield, because they won't give you that control that you would want from a genuine product. With all these words, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
Okay. All right, Tashinga, thank you so much for your presentation. And your presentation on weed management and soil health was enlightening. And let's remember, farmers, that agriculture is our wisest pursuit because it will end up in contributing to the most real wealth, good morals, and happiness. So proper soil health and effective weed management are crucial for successful maize harvesting. Please note that our meeting is at full capacity at the moment. If you have someone trying to join, please do refer them to our Agribusiness Media Facebook page. Okay, so let's get into the next presentation. Ngoni from Kurima. Ngoni will enlighten us on crop monitoring solutions. Ngoni, the floor is yours.
Okay. First of all, I would like to thank Agribusiness for giving us this opportunity. My name is Ngoni Nyamotspa. I'm from Bluefin Technology. I'll just give a brief background about Bluefin Technology. So Bluefin Technology is an insurtech company under the subsidiary of Champions. We specialize in innovative digital transformation solutions and risk management consultant services to business and individuals. And one of our flagship or our solutions service we give precisely to farmers is our crop and weather monitoring solution, where we focus on deliver comprehensive crop and weather monitoring solutions that we hope to assist our stakeholders, mainly our farmers, in improving efficiency. So I think I will just take you through the system. I will just try to cover on the high level solutions and show you how the system works. If you have any questions, as I will be presenting, maybe you can just throw them as I go. So on my screen here is our system, which is our solution, which is our smart Kurima. So I will just show you how we add a field here. However, I'm not going to add a field. I will just use these fields which are highlighted as test fields to show you how it works. So when you want to add a new field, you find GPS locations for the certain fields, then you add them here. You come here where it says add field, then you add GPS locations, then you add your field. Whether in any part of the world, you can add your field and be able to monitor it. So I'm just going to use this one, which is called test Apple here for the Apple field here. So I will show you how it works. So here we are loading the satellite images for the field and the weather patterns analytics from the rainfalls, the wind speed, and the indices we used to measure our field there. So this test field, as you can see here, as it is loading, you can see it's 0.37 hectares. And these are the locations where it is, the exact location, the GPS. And these are our sowing dates where we added on our field. If you want to add any information, you can just add here where you say harvesting date. You can add the irrigation type, you can add the tillage type, you can add any information and some notes here. You can add some notes which you think might be helpful. For example, the type of fertilizers put, the day you put some fertilizers, how you irrigate your field, and so forth. So you can add all the notes here on the field here, as you can see. So this is our current weather on that certain field on our 20 as of 3 November. This is our current weather here. You can see our vegetation map. Okay, I will touch again on those scouting tasks. Then you see as we go. I will be explaining as we go. Okay. So these are our, here where we have, I will touch on these ones. These are our indices here, where you use to measure our vegetation and our field is performing. We have here, this is the natural color. This one will just give the natural color of the field as it is as of now. If you want there, you can just see the natural color of the field. Then we have here, where we have our NDVI, which is our normalized difference vegetation index. That's where we are now. So this one is it is calculated according to the way a plant reflects and absorbs our solar radiation, which is our sun and our solar radiation at different wavelengths. And so this NDVI, it also allows for the identification of problem areas of the field at different stages of plant growth. At different stages of plant growth. And on this one, we are always reminded to pay attention to areas where the NDVI values differ considerably. I think I will also show on this one, they are okay. I will explain on this. As you can see the colors here. When you have this green, the darker green one, and going this one shows the better vegetation density as we go. So as of now, I think we are around here where we have open soil as we go through those color indices. I think since today we are in November, I think we can all agree that most of our fields there are open soils. There is no anything on our fields here. So this field as of now, there's nothing else. It's still open soil. But if we go maybe behind there, I will show you. But let me just finish explaining on these indices. So I think I'm done with NDVI. Then this one, the NDRE, which is our normalized difference rate age. This one is it indicates our photosynthetic activity of the vegetation cover. And it also uses our nitrogen concentrates in plant leaves and in the middle and at the end of the seasons. It also allows us to detect the oppressed and aging vegetation as it's used to identify plant diseases. So this one is most useful at the advanced stage of the crop, this NDRE. Then we have this one, MSAVIN survey, which is our modified soil adjusted vegetation index. This one, this one allows us to determine the presence of vegetation in the early stages of emergence when there is a lot of bare soil. So this one is mostly used when there is in our early stages of emergence, I think early stages of germination. So this one minimizes the effects of bare soil on the display of vegetation maps. And we can build maps for different fertilizer applications in the early stages of the crop. Then we have this one, the RECI, which is our red edge chlorophyll index. This one is also an index of photosynthetic activities, such as the NDRE. This one is, since it's a level of chlorophyll is directly related to the level of nitrogen in the crop, the index allows us to identify the areas of the field to have that have yellowed or faded leaves, which may require additional fertilizer or additional attention. Then we have our moisture index here, where we use the NDMI, which has a normalized difference moisture index. This one describes the crop's water stress levels. So in this one, we are dealing about it calculates our water levels and our soil moisture. So the interpretation of the absolute value of the NDMI makes it possible to immediately recognize areas in which the farm or field is experiencing water stress. This it's easy to interpret. Its values, they vary from -1 to 1, and each value corresponds to a different agronomic situation, independently of the crop which we have maybe selected. So as I was saying here, on the NDVI, let's use this one. As we said, it reflects. As we said, this one it allows for identification of problem areas on the field at different stages of plant growth. for timely response. Since we said we are in November, I think we can all agree that most of the fields are still open soil. But let's just maybe go back to around March or February there, so that you can see around that area. Around that time, I think there will be rainfall, and the field will be dense. I think that there will be dense vegetation around us that time. So let me just go around that time and see for that selected field. Let me just go to June, then we see as we will see the difference as we go to that area. As you can see here, the colors are now changing. Okay, let me go around to Feb, around to March then. Okay, yeah, let me select it here, 7 March. So this will be our field. And I think as you can see, according to these colors, you can see that this area here is dense vegetation, and you can see this some of these areas there's some stress. Maybe there was some harvesting around that time as we are approaching end of the season. So these are our measurements here. These are our measurements, and on this system, our smart Kurima, we can be able again to see our weather patterns and to make a forecast. As you can see here, we have an analytics for our weather pattern for this certain field. Let me go there and show you. Okay, so this is our data where we have our accumulated precipitation for that certain field. Then we have our daily precipitation for that certain field, as you can see. So these are our precipitations for that field. And as you can see here, I think we received some rainfalls around this 2 weeks or a week ago, as you can see these ones. So these are our precipitations levels for that field. You can see the analytics there, our temperatures there for that certain field. Right, then we can also forecast, do a weather forecast on for that certain field at a particular time. We can do 2 weeks forecast, so you can know when to apply maybe fertilizers or sort of pesticides, etc. So you can forecast for the next 2 weeks, next 14 days for that certain for that particular field. So for this particular field, as you can see, these are weather forecast. You can see the relative humidity, the clouds, wind speed, minimum and maximum temperatures, and the precipitation. As for this particular field, you can see that we can anticipate that there may be 20.2 millimeters of precipitation on the 13th of November. So you can plan accordingly. Then there is again where we call scout tasks here. So on this one, you can see maybe there is a certain, okay, maybe there's a certain area on the field where you feel there might be a problem. So you can send, like, I think, let me go to this one, as we had assigned a task on this one, a scout on this one. Let it load in this area. There were some issues there. There was some, I think the area, there were some problems. So you can pinpoint on a certain area on the field. Then we can send maybe an agronomist or someone who's on the field to go there and see what's on the area. And he can upload pictures and some notes on the area to be scouted there. So on the scout, we mainly use, as you can see here, this, if you send, then to say scout this area, fill the report and add some pictures on the certain field. So you can send a scout where you can see maybe someone's, let's say tobacco, someone can maybe there was a hailstorm, you can see this certain area, there was a problem. A scout can go there and take pictures and upload and make sure he can confirm that there's a problem there on that certain area. So that's how scouts work. Then you can see maybe an overview of your field. These are, you can see the season analytics or the season analytics for the crop for the whole season. For the whole season of that year, you can see some season analytics for that crop. Then as in terms, let me go back again. As in terms of analytics of that certain field, you can go back as big as 75 years to see how that field in terms of weather and how the weather was it for that certain period. So that even a person can say, let's say for tobacco, a person can say that there was a hailstorm, or for maize can say that there was a hailstorm. You can see that no, there was as per these days or this month, no, the wind speed was okay. The amount of rainfall was this, so there wasn't rainfall for that, and you can even plan for the future according to those ones. Okay, as I'm going, maybe someone might have a question, or maybe you can ask as I'm whilst I'm done.
All right, Ngoni, thanks so much for such a wonderful presentation, and that's interesting technology. So your talk on crop monitoring solutions was very informative, and it is often said the ultimate goal of farming is not the growing of crops, but the cultivation and perfection of human beings. Thanks so much. And farmers' crop monitoring solutions can help improve our farming practices and yield. All right, so for now, we'll take questions. We have opened the chat, farmers, so you can use that to send your questions that you have for our presenters. First question that I have here was for Mr. Nyamande. I think we are having some connectivity issues there. So we'll take the next one, which is from Tonderai Mukorezi, who says, what are the best practices for weed management in maize farming, especially for Tsangadzi? I had a hard time last season. I think that's for ZFC.
So for your Tsangadzi, you need to have what we call an integrated approach as far as managing Tsangadzi is concerned. So your first control measurement is your during your land preparation. You need to do your deep plowing. Then if you have enough machinery, also do what you call a Trojan tilling. So you remove it from the field. But in the event that maybe you don't want to till, or maybe you want to practice minimum tillage, is you need to apply glyphosate as a pre-plant cleaner. So before you plant, or immediately after planting within 3 days, that's when you apply your glyphosate. So your glyphosate is systematic to then control your Tsangadzi. But what is critical is you need to have a higher rate. So we are talking about maybe between 5 to 6 liters per hectare for your Tsangadzi. That translates to nearly to about 300 mils if you are using a 16-liter knapsack. So that's the rate of application that you need to apply. So that's how you can manage your Tsangadzi. But you also appreciate that even an event that maybe you would have failed to apply during that time, your Telastar will give you that control. It won't kill your Tsangadzi, but it will bleach it such that it will stop it from growing and therefore allowing your crop to take off. I'm not sure if I've answered it.
Well, thanks for taking that one. Then the next question is from Sibongile Nube. Sibongile says, how affordable is your crop monitoring solutions, and does it cater for medium-scale farmers? I have 30 hectares in Chinoi. And that's for Smart Kurima, if you can take that one.
Okay, yeah, the crop monitoring system caters for all farmers from small scale to large farmers. It costs $10 per hectare per season.
Okay, yeah, that's quite affordable. Is it $10 per month, or you said per season?
Per season, yes, per season.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Okay.
Then another question is from Tendai Mufuru. Tendai says, what is the best K2 variety? I don't miss Nyamande, can you hear us? Okay, I think we'll take the next question. It's from Eden Gardens. They are saying koma konye anodya moyo wechibage toshandisa mishonga ipi. Is that for armyworm?
Maybe I can come in.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe I also can maybe try to answer in a vernacular language. So maybe ndokuti vanzwise zvavanga vabvunza neshona. Makonye edu ari pamhando dzakaita kunge nhatu. Tine yatoti fall armyworm, tine yatinoti stalk borer, tine yatoti African armyworm. Chakakosha ndechekuziva kuti first solution yatinayo ndoyanambotaura tine ZFC indoxa, tine ZFC spike extra, tine umbilical. Iyoyo mishonga yese iri mitatu inoita kumakonye. But kana riri stalk borer kill, unogona kushandisa even yatoti stalk borer, normal stalk borer redu riya unogona kushandisa stalk borer kill kana kuti kabara. But uchaona kuti stalk borer kill haikwanisi kuzorova mamwe makonye atambotaura kuti African armyworm ne-fall armyworm. But mazuva ano nenyaya yekuti fall armyworm yakauya yakuita kunge yakavharira mamwe makonye. So fall armyworm ndo the most common. Chekutanga ZFC umbilical ndo solution yamunowana kuvarimi. Unoishandisa at about 250 to 300 mils per hectare.
All right, thank you. And whilst you are still there, there's another question from Eva Joy. Eva Joy says, thank you for the informative presentations. I did not manage to attend the full session. My question is, what fertilizer cup do we use to apply lime and fertilizer in Pumvudza? Then the second one from the same person is, do we place the seed directly on top of basal phase fertilizer? How do we place it correctly? I don't know if you can take that one.
Okay, for lime, the standard practice is cup number 5 for lime in Pumvudza. Then for fertilizer, it's cup number 8. That's for your basal. That is if you are using your compound D. But if you are using your double D, your rate then should be around cup number 4. But in some cases, you might fail to get cup number 4 because you need to apply 2 by cup 2, or alternatively, you increase your rate a little bit to cup number 5. But what is critical is this is a general recommendation. And if you follow general recommendation, you are likely to have a general crop, a general yield. What you need, the application rate of lime is determined by soil analysis. You need to get your soil tested so that you determine the amount of lime to apply and which type of lime to apply. Because lime exists in 2 types. We have what we call dolomitic lime and calcitic lime. So you need to get your soil tested. As I've emphasized for my presentation, the fundamental or the basis of any fertilizer management program is hinged on soil test analysis. We don't have to beat in the bush. We don't have to shoot in the dark. You need to do a soil analysis for you to come up with a comprehensive soil test.
Many thanks for emphasizing on that one. Then whilst you are still there, Tafazo says, is Maricho a selective herbicide?
Yes, it is a selective herbicide, but the beauty of it is that you use it as a pre-emergent herbicide or as a post-emergent herbicide, but it is a selective herbicide.
Okay, thank you. Then Ngoni, we have farmers here asking for your contact numbers.
Okay, let me put them on the chat.
All right, thank you. Then another question for you is from Evans Mushore. Ivan says, can I get localized data from the crop monitoring solutions on weather?
If I get him when he's saying localized data, he means maybe data is specific to that local area.
Yes, correct.
If so, it's correct. You can get that data. It will be for the data on our crop monitoring system. It will be for that specific field.
Okay, all right. Then another farmer here says, are there any specific equipment that is required for us to use the crop monitoring solution?
And not as such. If you have a laptop, you can use a laptop. If you have a tablet, you can use a tablet. If you have a cell phone, you can use your cell phone. There is a mobile application for that crop monitoring system as well.
Okay, then whilst you're still there, Ngoni, Dumisani says, I need to understand more on crop monitoring solutions. Does it mean I can see my farm operation in real time? Say we are doing land preparation, will I see the number of hectares covered or cultivated?
Okay, what you do is you just give us the number of, or you can just register the number of hectares you need to cover or the space you need to cover. Then you can input the exact location for those fields. Then you can see that particular area. That particular area will be covered. You can add the exact locations for that field in the system. Then you can see that particular field and it will be real time.
Then another question, I think Ngoni, no, I think if you can take this one, it says, thanks for the quite informative meeting. I would like to ask how deep should I plant maize seed? I'm asking because the last time I planted the seed, it took me 3 weeks to germinate. And I don't know if you can take that one, Tafinga.
Yes, I can answer. So the standard practice that you need to bury any seed 2 times its diameter or its size. So for maize seed, we are looking at around 3 to 4 centimeters. But what you also need to take into consideration is there are some herbicides that you also need to make sure that it's well covered. You also have to make sure that your covering is done properly. So I would say 3 to 4 centimeters.
All right, thank you. Then another one here says, are there any advantages in using both manure and fertilizer to improve soil health for better yield?
Yes, can you repeat the question?
I think it's the last one that we are gonna take. It says, it's from Lazarus. Lazarus says, are there any advantages in using both manure and fertilizer, sort of adding manure to the fertilizer regime that you had proposed, or maybe the one from soil analysis results, in order to improve soil health for better yield?
Yeah. Yes, definitely there are benefits, because apart from nutritional benefits that the manure will provide to the crop, it also improves the soil structure. But one key issues that maybe farmer need to consider is that you need maybe to use well decomposed manure. We can also do your soil analysis on that manure, because dzimweni dzenguva hauzivi kuti manure aya ndeyemombe yani, yadyei, yanga yakadya rini. So it means the nutritional value is not consistent, which means you can apply it, but unenge usiri kuziva again kuti what's in that manure and how consistent it is. Yasiyana nefertilizer kuti kana tichiti 7-14-7, which means granules is 7-14-7. So which also means you yes apply, but if possible, also get that manure tested. Also make sure that that manure is decomposed zvakanaka. Because if it's not decomposed zvakanaka, the process of decomposition of manure local nitrogen is available to the plant. Yatoti immobilization of nitrogen, which makes the nitrogen unavailable to the plant. Saka nitrogen yaunogona watoisa muvhu ye pamwe chete nemanure inogona kusatova available to the plant, because microorganisms akuitora akumbogadzira chikafu chavo, crop iri kusafa. So you also need to make sure you use well decomposed manure, and you need to analyze it so that zvinobuda zvakanaka.
All right, thank you for taking that one. And I see a lot of questions and comments that are coming, and unfortunately, because of our time, we have to end here. So we would like to thank Ms. Nyamande from K2 and Tashinga Mudzengi from the ZFC, and Ngoni, who was representing Smart Kurima. Thank you so much for your presentations and for joining us on this webinar. And I would also like to thank you all farmers and stakeholders who participated in this webinar. Your questions and comments were very insightful and engaging. We do appreciate your interest and enthusiasm. We wish you all success in your farming endeavors. And remember, farming is not just a job, it is a way of life. May you reap the fruits of your hard work and dedication. From us at Agribusiness Media, thank you and goodbye. I'm Rawlings.